Hi, Robbie here again. It's another Thursday morning. I'm sitting out here in the garden. I just read a fascinating article, read it twice to make sure that I understood it right the first time. It was by an anthropologist, and he was writing an article that was published in the newspaper. It seems he was examining a skull of a Neanderthal man that he discovered, and he was examining the teeth of that skull, and he found that there was some human DNA in in between some of those teeth, and he was trying to come up with some explanations of why there would be human DNA in the in between the teeth of a Neanderthal skull. And sure enough, the newspaper said that suggested that the best explanation that makes sense was that Neanderthals were kissing human, and that struck me as kind of unusual because I thought if if they kept examining those teeth and found some squirrel DNA or rabbit DNA, they might be tempted to assume that the Neanderthal was kissing squirrels and rabbits too. Well, makes sense. Well, this morning I'm thinking about what makes sense. I'm thinking about common sense. Common sense is something that we all have. You have common sense, I'm sure. And I have common sense, plenty of it. The interesting thing about common sense is that it's an explanation that we hear all the time, especially in newspapers and on the TV and on the radio and in social media posts. Things make common sense when they can't be supported by facts or real solid evidence. People say, "Oh well, the explanation is it's common sense. I've got common sense, and you do too." But the interesting thing about common sense is that it's not so common. What makes sense to me might not always make sense to you, and vice versa. So I think that the whole common sense situation is a good warning for us to be skeptical of anything that somebody explains by claiming that it's, well, common sense. So I'm thinking about common sense a lot these days, especially this morning, especially after I read that newspaper article. I think about common sense whenever I hear political discussions on the TV. And I try to avoid that sort of thing, but I can't always escape it. Uh, anyway, that's what I've been thinking about today, and that's about all for now. So I'll talk with you again next Thursday.